Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Yomi Zevachim Daf Kuf. We are holding around 11 lines off the top of the Amud. Abaye Amar Lekasha. Abaye is coming to answer the question that we asked yesterday. You see, in one place, Rabbi Shimon says that even an oinein, a fellow who unfortunately lost a close family member, he can still send in that Karban Pesach for Hakrava, which he will, of course, consume tonight, the night after. Whereas in the other Brisa, it says no, an oinen may not send a Karban Pesach for Hakrava. He's an oinen. He's not meant to be involved in Karbanis at this point. How do we reconcile? How do we resolve this apparent contradiction? We had several suggestions yesterday. Says Abaye, listen to this. Of course, Rabbi Shimon holds Aninus Laila de Rabbanon, which means to say that Minat Torah, the Oinen status only applies on the day of. The day of Misa, the day of death. The following night is only the Rabbanon. That's the first premise you're meant to know. Rabbi Shimon says, Aninus Laila de Rabbanon. Now here comes the answer. Abaye Amar Lekasha. Let me explain to you. Let me resolve this apparent contradiction. We're talking about two different scenarios. Kan, when the Brisa says, an oinen may not send a Karban Pesach for Hakrava. You know what happened? Shemeis koidem chatzos. The occurrence occurred before chatzos. That's when the fellow died. Before the time of Karban Pesach even arrived, the Zman Pesach is only from chatzos onward. He died before chatzos on Erev Pesach. So that sort of preempts his Karban Pesach. It precedes it and blocks it. Kan, whereas the Mishnah Meseches Pesachim, which says otherwise, an oinen can even eat his Karban Pesach at night, can send it in during the day, no problem. Shemeis lachar chatzos. It's speaking that the Misa occurred after chatzos. So what's the difference? The Gemara explains itself. Look, koidem chatzos. The Misa was before chatzos. Deli ichse Pesach, when he was not yet fit for Karban Pesach, right? It was not yet time for Pesach. Chayla ole aninus. So the aninus status gets its foot in the door and preempts the Karban Pesach from happening. So that's it, he's out. As opposed to Achar Chatzos. If death occurred only after Chatzos, after the Zman Chatzos has already begun, the Ichse Pesach, that he was already Roy, he was already obligated, he was already enabled for Karban Pesach. So that came before the Aninos status, Loi Chaylo Alei Aninos. At this point we say Aninos sort of takes a back seat, and he can send in the Karban and even eat that Karban tonight. And I'll even prove to you that this distinction is valid. This difference between before Chatzos or after Chatzos. Okay, so how do we know that in fact this chiluk, this distinction is correct, is valid? That there should be any difference between koidem chatzos or ben achar chatzos, whether he died before or after chatzos. This time we have a brisa which discusses the halacha where a kohen is not meant to become tamei to an ordinary mace, right? But what about a close relative, a sister, etc.? Lo yitama. Yeah, he should be involved in burying the karev. Mitzvah, it's a mitzvah to do so. It's not just an option. There's a mitzvah, there's an obligation to be physically involved in tending to the burial of his close relatives, and notwithstanding the fact that he's tummy. You know, not despite the fact that it makes him, he's meant to do it. Lo yirotza, let's say he refuses to be involved. Mitamano yisei bal korcha, we say, go ahead, we force him. Umasa, there was a story, Yosef HaKoyen, shemei say ishte be'Erev Pesach, his own wife died Erev Pesach, and he said, okay, Baruch I don't want to be involved in the Gevura because he doesn't want to lose the Korban Pesach opportunity. V'nimnu echa v'kayhanim v'timu al karchai, v'al karchai, and the kayhanim sort of prevailed on him, and they forced him to be involved and become a tamei. Okay, so in this brisa we learned that even an oinein, certainly he's an oinein, right? Who thought that he can get away with it, and do the Korban Pesach. No. They forced him to be involved in the Tumah, and he lost that Korban Pesach opportunity at this point. Okay, so what do we see from this brisa? That an oinein does not partake in Korban Pesach. Viramini, here comes a brisa which seems to say just the opposite. We speak about a nazir, right? Who likewise is meant to guard himself from Tumah, even from close relatives. So don't get involved in mother, father, brother, sister who passed away. Don't. Why mention sister? I mean, once we know that you can't even get involved in mother or father's burial, certainly the sister, matam olim, what's the point of v'lachoisai? V'lachoisai matam olim. The answer is the Torah is coming to point out that, ordinarily he doesn't get involved in his relative's burial when he's a nazir. But let's say it's an unattended mace, what we call a mace mitzvah, with nobody to care for it. So even if he's a man of the highest degree of kedusha, he's a nazir, even a kohen gadol, even if he's on the way to do a Korban Pesach, etc. If it's a mace mitzvah, you're in. So that's the point of listing la'aviv limoy la'achav la'choisei, to tell you under ordinary circumstances keep away. Right? Hari shahalach. So the nazir is on the way to. It's on Erev Pesach, Lishchat Es Pesach, to take care of his Korban Pesach. V'lo melas b'nai, and or to do Mila on his son, which would enable him to bring a Korban Pesach. First he has to take care of the Mila of his children to be able to bring a Korban Pesach. So he's on the way to prepare his Korban Pesach and facilitate it, and V'shama she'meis le'meis, he suddenly gets news that one of his relatives passed away. Yochayil, Yitama, perhaps he should go ahead and become tamei and take care of the mace at the expense of everything else. Amrus le'yitama. The answer is no, of course not. Right? But Yachel kashem shele'yitama la'achaysei. Perhaps just as he avoids becoming tamei to a sister and other relatives. Kach ein mitamei l'meis mitzvah. Likewise, you should not even do so regarding a meis mitzvah. Talmud Daily, no, that's an exception. V'la'achaysei tells you. Ordinary cases, no. But exceptional cases, yes. You can't become a tummy to a sister, yes to a meis mitzvah. So clearly, in this brisa we learn that even if he's faced with a tragic circumstance of a close relative who passed away, which makes him an oinein. So if it's a regular mace, not a meis mitzvah, he's not meant to become tummy. He's meant to go to his Korban Pesach. And in the previous brisa we learn otherwise. His wife's passed away. He gave up Korban Pesach. How do we reconcile this apparent contradiction? Oh, it must be a question of timing. Depends if it happened before Chatzos, then he's out. If it happened after Chatzos, once the Korban Pesach, procedure has sort of been activated, the Zman has already landed on him, that comes first. Lashma, no, apparently we learn from here. Kan koydem Chatzos. The first brisa, which says no Korban Pesach for you, Mr. Oinen, is when the tragedy occurred before Chatzos, so it preempted the Korban Pesach. Kan lacha Chatzos, the second brisa speaking about it happened after Chatzos. Chatzos already landed, the Korban Pesach already arrived, so to speak, and that overrides the aninus. So there's your distinction, as per Abaye's presentation. Oh, not so quick, says the Gemara. How do we know? Now that's the factor at play. Perhaps, in the first case, with the story of Yosef HaKohen, the reason why he did not do the Korban Pesach wasn't related to timing and the fact that the Aninus came first. No, Dilma. Perhaps both discussions, both prices, relate to a Misa that occurred after Chatzos. So how do you explain the difference between the two prices? The second price which says, do the Pesach and not become Tamid, Rabbi Shmuel. It's going like Rabbi Shmuel, who says, look, it's not an obligation, it's not a chiv, it's not a mitzvah for him to become Tamid, so prefer the Pesach. Rabbi Shmuel. Right? Well, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Akiva, whereas the first price which says, no carbon Pesach for Yumis Dainin, it's going like Rabbi Akiva, who says, irrespective of when it happened, before or after Chatzos, there's a mitzvah, there's a chiv to take care of the kavur of his wife. So that's the reason why he's going to lose out on the Korban Pesach opportunity, because he becomes Tamei. Very simple, straightforward problem. So again, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Akiva, the son, as we find in the Brisa, the pasuk speaks about the kohen getting involved in the tumas meis for a relative. Lohi tama, you have two ways to learn. You can say it's optional, rishos, you can do it. Divrei, that's Rabbi Shmuel's shita, as per the second Brisa. Rabbi Akiva mechayev, Rabbi Akiva says no, he has to do it. Okay, so that's why Yosef HaKohen could not bring a Korban Pesach. Well, you can't really say that, says the Gemara. This arrangement that you're suggesting, that in fact the second Brisa says like Rabbi Shmuel, and there goes our whole pre or post Chatzos distinction. No, it's not going to work. You can't say that. Why? Because clearly in that second Brisa we find, guess whose name? Rabbi Akiva. So it's not going to work with your arrangement. The Reisha Da'i Rabbi Akiva K'tani, because you look at the first part of that Brisa, which we haven't yet quoted, so it's part A of Brisa B. The Reisha Da'i Rabbi Akiva K'tani, so Rabbi Akiva speaking the Sanya. Rabbi Akiva Omer goes into the whole discussion, and clearly it's Rabbi Akiva speaking, so it's not going to be consistent with your arrangement. Rabbi Akiva Omer. So again, it's the Nazir. The Nazir is meant to guard himself from Tumah. It says, don't get involved. Al nefesh meis lo yavoy, right? Aviv li'imoy, l'achiv la'choisay. Don't get involved in their tumah. The word nefesh tells you, elor hakroivim. Keep away from tumah of even close relatives. Umeis, the word meis, elor rochaikim, non-relatives. So either way, Mr. Nazir, keep away. The word la'aviv is telling you, yeah, ordinarily, he can't allow himself to become tummy to take care of his father's burial. But that's again under regular circumstances. But the point of the pasuk is to teach that if it's a meis mitzvah, then he could. Avol metami hu meis mitzvah. The word le'ima is coming to tell you that again, only mother, not but a meis mitzvah, is allowed even under extraordinary circumstances. Let's say he's haya kohen vu nazar. He's a nazar and also a kohen, so he has a double layer of kedusha. Still, you should know that a meis mitzvah, he's okay to be, to get involved with. He can't become tummy to a mother under regular circumstances. Avol mitami hu meis mitzvah, yes, a meis mitzvah. The word la'achiv again is teaching us another twist to the salacha, to the heter of meis mitzvah. Shemaya kohen gadol hu nazar. If this nazar is not only a nazar and a kohen, but even a kohen gadol, a higher level. Nevertheless, meis mitzvah he has a green light for. What about v'lachoisai? What's that for? What's that teaching us? That even if the meis mitzvah comes at the expense of a Korban Pesach, or right? He's on the way to do Korban Pesach, take care of the meal of his son. He heard about a tragedy. Perhaps you should go take care of them. No, the answer is don't. Perhaps, just as he can't get involved in burying his sister or another relative, what about a meis mitzvah? Which in this case has very severe consequences. He's a kohen gadol, he's a nazir, he's going to lose his Pesach, etc. Perhaps just as sister no, likewise meis mitzvah no as well. But la'choisai comes and says no, meis mitzvah is different. Avli Yitamahu Meis Mitzvah, sister or not by Meis Mitzvah, yes. Okay, so clearly it's Rabbi Akiva speaking in this brisa. This is part of that same brisa that was brought earlier. That was the second brisa there, where we learned that if it's a choice between becoming tummy for a relative or bringing the Korban Pesach, you bring in the Korban Pesach. That takes priority. And this is despite the fact that it's Rabbi Akiva speaking, who typically says that it's a chayva. One is obligated to assist in his his relative's burial. Right? Nevertheless, we say no. When it comes to Korban Pesach, it's a choice between one or the other. Brisa clearly says Korban Pesach takes priority. He maintains his purity and sends in his Korban Pesach. How do we explain that? Because in the first brisa, right, we said otherwise. The story with Yosef HaKohen with his wife, they forced him to become Tameh at the expense of the Korban Pesach. So that was an outright contradiction. Apparently the answer depends on the exact timing, right? As we had said, before Chatzos or after Chatzos. The story with Yosef HaKohen is speaking that the Misa occurred before Chatzos, that preempted the arrival of the Korban Pesach. So that takes priority. No Korban Pesach for him this year. At least Pesach Rishon, right? Versus the second brisa, which says Korban Pesach takes priority, speaking that the Misa only occurred after Chatzos, after the Zman Pesach started. Okay, so in that case, Korban Pesach comes first, in accordance with Abaye's formula. Okay, so we actually substantiated his formula. We thought we had a raya, we sort of negated it, but then we came right back and reinstated it. Rav Amar. Okay, back to our original question. That apparent, inconsistency within Reb Shimon. Here we say the name of Reb Shimon that an Oinen can send in the Korban Pesach and eat it, and there we say he doesn't. Rav Amar idi b'dach Chatzos. Both cases are speaking that the tragedy occurred after Chatzos, and the difference is like this. V'leikash. V'leikash. Kan koidem sheshachtu v'zarku olav. When the Brisa says that there is a red light, he can't proceed. It's speaking that they didn't do it yet. They didn't do the shechita or the zrika on this Korban Pesach on behalf of the Oinen. So he's locked out. So even if it happened after Chatzos, it doesn't matter. He's an Oinen, he's locked out. Because the Torah doesn't allow an Oinen who is in a distressed state to be involved in a korban. The other Mishnah, which says that he can proceed and can even eat the Korban Pesach, la'achar sheshachta v'zarku olav, speaking that it's after the fact, they already did it. Okay? So what happened was that the Akrava already happened, and then he became an Oinen. Right? So, the korban is kosher. And he can go ahead and eat it tonight. Ask the Gemara, Amalei, Rav Ada bar Masnal Rav. I don't understand. Fine, let's say the korban was already offered. But eating is a totally new realm. Who says he can eat? Who says he can partake the following night? I mean, is an Oinen, even though it's no longer the day of, it's only the following night, so it's Oinen Aninas Laila, it's also Asim the Rabban, like any other korban that he shouldn't be eating that night. Only Rav Ada bar Masnal Rav, Achar sheshachta v'zarku is damai. If the shechita and the zrika already occurred, my davahava, done is done. Which means to say, in other words, he has already fulfilled his obligation. There are two separate, aspects to a Korban Pesach. There's the offering, the shechita, the zrika, which is the, primary obligation. And you have the eating of the Korban Pesach. He can't consume it. He still has fulfilled his mitzvah. So why are we giving him that green light to eat it? Amali Ravina. So this was Rav Ada Ramasna asking Rava, And Ravina sort of interjected. He said, let me give you the answer. Amalei Ravina. Achilas psachim ma'akva. Actually, it's very important. In fact, it's very critical to actually sit down and consume the Korban Pesach. It's part and parcel of the actual mitzvah. The primary objective in bringing a Korban Pesach is to eat it. Mid the Rabba Bar Rav Huna, as we're going to see later, the name of Rabba Rav Huna, that in fact, if one failed to eat the Korban Pesach, he has not fulfilled his obligation. So he's liable to kares for neglecting the Korban Pesach. So basically, once the Korban Pesach is already on track, you have to finish it. And they allowed him to eat the Korban Pesach and did away with their halacha of aninus laila in this type of case. Amalei, so Rava responded to his petitioner, to Rav Ada bar Masna, who had asked this question, which was answered now by Ravina. He says, listen closely to what Ravina is telling you. He's right on. Amalei tzayis, ma'idek amalach rabach. Listen closely to what your Rebbe is telling you. It was a good answer. Ask the Gemara, okay, ma'idek Rabba bar Rav Huna, where do we find this chiddush from Rabba bar Rav Huna that the achila of the Korban Pesach, in fact, is critical and is mi'akiv? Okay, so now we get into a whole discussion, which will lead us to that destination. This Sunday we have a brisa as follows, which will have its own internal apparent contradiction, which will have to be resolved using this concept of achilas psachim mi'akva. So, but before we proceed, we have just a quick. Let's just tie it up. We had a stira within Reb Shimon. Can Oinen bring a Korban Pesach? Yes, no. We had several answers yesterday, and today we have Abaye. Well, it depends if the Misa occurred before Chatzos, then he's okay for it, or after Chatzos, it's too bad, too late. Rava says, well, it all depends whether the Korban had already been offered before the Misa or not, and it's based on the idea of Achilas Psachim Me'akva. So if it's already offered, and then the Misa happened, you can go ahead and eat it tonight, because it's so important to eat it. The Sunday. Here's the brisa. Yom Shmua. Okay, so the fellow got word that his close relative passed away. Passed away a while ago. Within 30 days, Rashi says. Okay, so it's relatively recent, but it's not the day of. It's just, he was just informed today. What's his status? Ki Yom Kvura l'mitzvahs Shiva v'Shloshim. It's treated like the day of burial. Regarding counting the Shiva or the Shloshim, it all starts from today. Now, regarding his ability to eat the Korban Pesach, it's different. Since he wasn't actually buried today, it was just the Yom HaShmua, so it's sort of a notch lower. Ki Yom Likutat Samis. Likutat Samis is when they used to recollect the bones of their relatives to reinterm them. So that, since it isn't really wasn't really the primary burial, wasn't really the Yom Kvura, so it doesn't spill over into the following night. Yom Kvura does spill over to the following night with the Rabbana, but not the Yom Likutat Samis. It's not considered like actual burying. So regarding the Oinen eating a Korban Pesach, we come easy on him regarding that point, because we don't want him to lose the Korban Pesach opportunity. So we say, look, even though it's a Yom Shmua, which has an aspect of Yom Kippur regarding, counting Shiva and Shloshim, but it's considered a level down regarding Achilas Korban Pesach, which means that he could eat tonight. Now, Echad Zeh means like this. Whether it's the Yom Likutat Samis, which is sort of a secondary burial, or the actual Yom Kippur, which is the primary burial, either way, it never affects his ability to eat Karbanis the following night. Jump to the mikveh, and tonight you could have your karbanos. Now, this seems to be inherently contradictory, because now we're saying that even Yom Kippur does not carry over into the following night regarding karbanos. And a second ago we said that typically Yom Kippur does carry over regarding karbanos. It's just that for Pesach, we sort of don't count it like a Yom Kippur, but typically Yom Kippur does carry over into the following night. Hogav Akash, we have a kasha within this brisa. Amris, initially we say, Yom Shmok Yom Kippur. The Yom Shmok, when he found out, is treated like a Yom Kippur regarding the mitzvah Shiva v'Shloshim. V'lachilas psachim, regarding the ability to eat the Korban Pesach, no, we downgrade it. K'yem likudat samais, we don't treat the Yom Shmuel like a Yom Kivura, because the Yom Kivura itself would spill over to the following night and preempt it from eating the Korban Pesach. We treat it like Yom Likudat Samais, which is not really Yom Kivura, and doesn't affect the following night. But clearly, a real Yom Kivura does affect the night after. Machlal, apparently, the Yom Kivura, the actual Yom Kivura, if it were so, I feel Erev Nami Lo Yachal, he can eat even a Korban Pesach on the following night. A minute later, you tell me, no, whether it's just Likudat Samais or whether it's really Yom Kivura, no problem. It doesn't spill over into the night. Toivel v'oichel b'kachim can have his kachim to later. How does this work? The two parts of the brisa were taught by different tanoim, who disagreed regarding the status of Yom Kivura. Now all agree that Yom Misa itself carries over to the night, but Yom Kivura, which isn't really Yom Misa, he died a day earlier and buried a day later, so then we have a shayla. Whether it spills over into the night or not. One Tana says yes, you can't eat karbanis. Other says no, it's okay. That's the first teretz. Rabbi Barafuna Amar, he gives provides another solution. Lekash, here's your answer. Kan, it really depends. If it's the night after, then he can have karbanis. So let's say he was buried Erev Pesach, and now it's already, the Seder night. Okay, he can have his karbanis. But if the burial occurred, right? If the burial occurred tonight, it's okay. But if the burial occurred, the Kfura occurred tonight after Shkia, so now is the Yom HaKfura. It's not the night after. This is the time of Kfura. No karbanis to be eaten at this point. So that's his answer. Kan. When the Brisa says that the Yom Kippur does not cover the night after, Sheshama Shmu al Meisai Samach l'shkesacham. Speaking that everything happened before sunset. He heard about it before sunset. That's the one case we spoke about. V'chein shaliktu le'atzomes samach l'shkesacham. Likewise, look at that atzomes occurred at that point, or in the case of actual kvura, we're also speaking that it happened before sunset, during daytime. V'chein shemeis lemeis ukvare samach l'shkesacham. He died and he was buried Erev Pesach before Shkia. So the actual Yom ended at Shkia. So of course in that case, Yom Kippur ends right there and does not spill over. It can, but the other part of the Brisa which says that, the night after Kippur is still forbidden, La'achar Shkesacham. We're speaking that the Kippur only happened afterwards, after sunset. So this is the actual Yom Kippur, totally different story. So then he cannot eat kachim. Ask the Gemara. Fine. That answers the contradiction regarding the status of the night after Yom Kippur. But the Brisa does mention that, this only applies to, real Yom Kippur, right? But not on a day which he only did likudat samis, which wasn't really a proper kvura, just a secondary, a reinterment. So regarding Korban Pesach, we say, you know what? That if it would be the day of likudat samis, he can actually eat the Korban Pesach, right? So the question is, why could he eat the Korban Pesach? Look, the Korban Pesach had already been offered today. You don't bring the Korban Pesach at night after Shkia. It was done earlier today. So why should we allow him to eat the Korban Pesach at this point? We're learning that that these things occurred after Shkia. Right? The Brisa says you can eat the Korban Pesach, and in a case where likudat samis occurred after Shkia. Why? Whatever happened, meaning the Korban Pesach had already been offered today, it's done. He fulfilled his obligation. Why should we allow him to do it? Just like you can't eat other karbanis, why should we give him a green light for the Korban Pesach? Why should we make an exception? Oh, elashmamina. Apparently, we learn from here that consumption of a Korban Pesach is so critical to the process and required for the fulfillment of the Korban Pesach obligation and mitzvah. Otherwise, he's liable to kares. He hasn't completed the Korban Pesach process. So in this case, Chacham say, you know what? In the face of kares, Korban Pesach, we let him go. Okay, so this was Rabbi Bar Huna speaking, right? Now we have a source, we have a reference to this point of Korban Pesach. The Achila Korban Pesach is me'akev, as we had said earlier. Rav Ashi Amar, he says, well, what do we need this whole... I have a very simple answer to your question. Let's go back to the Brisa. We seem to have a contradiction. It's not a contradiction at all. So on one hand, the Brisa says, on the Yom HaKvura, right, he's an Oinain, and the following night as well. But then the Brisa concluded, Echad Zeh v'Echad Zeh, whether it's this or that, which we thought to mean, Yom Kvura or Yom Likud, the following night is okay. No, Rav Ashi Amar Maya Echad Zeh v'Echad Zeh. When the Brisa says this or that, it didn't mean like you thought. El Achikam, it means like this. It wasn't referring to Yom Kippur at all. Echad Yom Shmua, v'Echad Yom Likud. The Brisa spoke about the day that he heard about the news, or the day that he was Malaka that Sundays. Those days don't carry over into the night. But Yom Kippur, which is a more severe experience, of course, does. So those don't. But not Yom Kippur. And the Gemara sort of negates this answer. No, it's incorrect. Based on the, if you take a look, if you analyze the exact wording of the Brisa, it seems that this approach is incorrect. This answer of Ashi, Bedusahi, is incorrect. Michti Allah Koi, look, the Brisa already talked about Yom Shmua and Yom Likud. So, if it's just referring to that, it would say Zeh b'Zeh, this and that. Not with this whole elaborate presentation of Echad Zeh, ve'Echad Zeh, which sounds like it's going on, some sort of broader equation. Zeh b'Zeh me'bayli, it should have simply said this or that. The fact that it goes out and says Echad Zeh ve'Echad Zeh sounds like it's going further out than relating to the, different types of Elishma Mino Bedusi. Apparently it's going on the Yom Kvura and Yom Likadat Samais. Right? The Yom Kvura, which was sort of referenced in a hinting fashion in the first part of Bryce. It's going back to that to tell you that even Yom Kvura does not spill over into the night, and that sort of triggered the contradiction, the inconsistency, which required us to answer one of two ways. Either it's Machlekes Tanaim, or one is before Shkia, one is after Shkia, as we had explained. Now, let's go back to the first teretz, Machlekes Tanaim. What is Machlekes Tanaim about? Whether the Yom HaKvura affects the night after. Whether it's an Oinen on the night after Yom Kippur. Where do we find that Machlekes Tanaim? Umay Tanoi. The Sani Bava Brisa, Ad Masa Misa Einin Olav. So a relative died. Until what point? Is the oval going to be an Oinen which prevents him from eating karbonis? Kol hayom. Throughout that day and no more. Rabbi Omer calls Mashal Nigbar. As long as it's still pre-burial. As soon as he's buried, no more Einim. My asking now, what are we talking about? When was the Misa? Today or yesterday? Ilay maybe a Misa if the day is Yom Misa as well. So it's Sunday, right? He died Sunday, and the Kvura was on Sunday, 5 o'clock. So according to Tanakama, it seems like Einim stops at sunset, and according to Rabbi, even earlier at 5 o'clock. Really? Me'ika the Leslie to Yom Misa, the toughest Leila Midrabanan? Is there anybody in the world that doesn't hold that the night after Yom Misa is included? Gets sort of attached to the previous day. He's still not in, of course. Vesu further. Rabbi Eimer calls Mashal Nigbar. Rabbi seems to say that it doesn't even last to the end of the day. It's only until Kvura. Ha Kvara Ishtarilei. So once he does Kvura, he's mutter. Is anybody in the world that doesn't hold of the pasuk? The pasuk says V'achrisa ke'imar, and we learn from here that the most bitter day, the Yom the day of Misa, is considered a day of bitterness, of aninus. How can he learn that pshat in the Bryce? Amrav Sheish Zayim Kvura Kroi. You're right. The Misa happened yesterday. Today's already Monday. The question is how far to stretch the Aninus status of the Yom Kivura, which is only with the Rabbanon. Yom Misa says they rise, but yet now it's Yom Kivura. According to Tanakama, until the end of the day. According to Rebbe, until 5 o'clock, the time of Kivura. Maskal Rav Yisrael says a kasha of Sheshes Pshat. Ella, the Tani, how do we understand the Mishnah? Listen to this Mishnah. Hashemei al Meisai, Kimalakat Sameis. If one was informed about a close relative that passed away, Kimalakat Sameis has the status of Malakat Sameis, which means, in both cases, Toiva Loicha Bakashim L'Erev, so tonight he could eat Karbanis. That's because it was only a Shmua. It was only Malakat Sameis. But apparently Mechlal, the Yom Kivura, but it's really Yom Kivura Afilu, L'Erev Nami Liachal. It spills over into, even to the following night. How manis? Who's speaking in this Mishnah? Totally inconsistent with the two opinions mentioned earlier, who both hold that the following night is free. Elatritz. So you have to sort of modify that price to make it work. It reads like this: Ad Masai, mis oinin and olav. To a point where the relatives conduct themselves in a state of aninus. Throughout the day of Kvura, v'leila, and the following night. That's the Tanakam. We add the night as well. Rabbi Yomer, no. Alas, until he was buried. Aval nikbar, v'leila. Okay, so let's say burial took a couple of days until then. But if he was buried, the aninus only extends to the end of that day without the following night. So here's the machlekes regarding the Laila after Yom Kippur. Is it part or not? Rabbi says no. Tanakam says yes. Rabbi Yirmiyah wasn't happy with this teretz. Amrur kamei the Rabbi Yirmiyah. Chachamim presented Rabbi Yosef's answer to Rabbi Yirmiyah, which turns out that Rabbi is more lenient. Right? He holds of a shorter zman than the Chacham. Omar, he responds, Gavar Rabbi Rabbi Yosef. Can it be so that a great man like Rabbi Yosef, Lema Hachi, would present it in this fashion? Lema the Rabbi L'Kul, that Rabbi is more lenient when it comes to these halachas of aninus than the Tanakam. He gives a shorter time frame. At time we have a brayso that he gives a longer time frame. I'm not saying Allah. So when is aninus? Nigbar. Rabbi says it could take 10 days until the Kvura. So until till the Kvura and even the following night. Chacham say only during daytime. But it doesn't stretch into the following night. So if anything, you see that Rebbe covers the night, Chacham exclude the night. Okay, so how could you propose that in the earlier brayso, Rebbe seems to say just the opposite? Rather, the correct modification to that brayso is like this. Until when does aninus stretch? The day of Kvura, right? If it's not the Yom Misa, so it's just the day of Kvura. Day only, not without the following night. Rabbi Omer, no. As long as the Kvura hasn't taken place, he's an Einin. And if the Kvura did take place, meaning when the Kvura actually happens, it stretches into the night as well. Okay, there's a discussion about why Rabbi had used this lashon of kozman, but the point is the night covered? Is the night included in the aninus of Yom Kivura? Tanakama says no. Rabbi says yes. So in fact, Rabbi is machmer. But in any case, here's the machlekes Tanai that we were looking for. It's Yom Kivura. He died yesterday, and today's the Kivura. Aninus the Rabbanon stretches into the night. Yes or no? Machlekes Tanai. Amru kamei the Rav. So Bnei Yeshiva presented Rabbi Yirmiyah's most recent shot to Rav. So Rav responded, Medika Amar Rabbi, Yom Kivura Teifes Leila Midrabanan. From the fact that Rabbi says that Yom Kivura stretches into the following night Midrabanan. Mechlal Yom Misa Teifes Leila Midaraisa. Sounds like it sounds like the Yom Misa itself, the day that he died, with the Aninus is Minat Torah, would affect its night as well, the following night, Minat Torah. Because otherwise, the Chacham would not include the night in the Aninus of Yom of Kivura if we don't find a similar phenomenon, Minat Torah, by the Yom Misa. Basically, Rabbanan take a concept that we find Minat Torah and apply it even to cases which is only with the Rabbanan. So once we know that the Aninus of Yom Misa is Minat Torah, and it covers its following night, the night after. Likewise, with the Rabbanan on Yom Kivura, which is not Yom Misa, where the Aninus is only Rabbanan, they modeled it, they patterned it in similar fashion. Okay, so that must be understood that even according to that according to all Shittas, the Aninus of a Yom Misa stretches into the following night as well. At least according to Rebbe, right? V'sava Rebbe Aninus Laila D'Oraisa. Is that true? That according to Rebbe, the night after Yom Misa, he's an Onim Minat Torah D'Oraisa. Batani, we have a brisa which relates to the story in Parsha Shmini where they had burnt one of the karbanos on the 8th day of Miluim due to the tragic incident that happened when Nadav Abihu died, and Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to know why they burned the karban. Why don't you eat it? And Aaron HaKohen responded. He says, "Yeah, we can't eat it today, but tonight we could eat it. Hein hayom. So I couldn't eat it today because we're einanim, right? Ani hayom asur, v'layla mutar. So I, in this situation, where the karbanos are timely karbanos, not regular, ordinary, generational karbanos. It's called Hiras Shah, special karbanos on occasion of the Miluim. So although today, during daytime, I can't eat it, but tonight I was planning on eating it. And the diak from Hayom is that only this, only these karbanos can be eaten today. Can be eaten tonight, not today but tonight. But other karbanos throughout, the dairis, regular karbanos, don't have this special dispensation, because here we're stuck with the only kahanim around. But otherwise, there are many kahanim around, and there's no dispensation for an oinen to eat the following night either. For the dairis, typically, regular karbanos cannot be eaten on the day of the tragedy and the following night either. That should be the sheet. So clearly, the oinen status extends into the night after Yom Misa as well. Rabbi Omer, no, Aninus Laila, Aninus status on the following night, Einam Direi Torah, Direi Seifrim. It's never Minat Torah, it's only D'Rabbanan. Clearly, Rebbe holds Aninus Laila of even Yom Misa is only D'Rabbanan. And earlier we said the fact that Rebbe considers the Aninus of Yom Kivura as one that stretches into the following night, clearly depicts his opinion regarding that by Yom HaMisa, which is Aninus Minat Torah, it certainly carries on into the following night as well. Otherwise he wouldn't, never say so by the Yom HaKivura. And here in the most recent brisa, he says otherwise. That Rebbe says Aninus Laila of even Yom HaMisa is only D'Rabbanan. La'ilam D'Rabbanan, he says, well, you're right. The night after Yom HaMisa is only D'Rabbanan. V'chachamim, and answer your question. If so, why would they apply Aninus on the night after Yom HaKivura? V'chachamim asu chizuk l'devreim yosim shel Torah. Chachamim made a chizuk. They reinforced, they strengthened l'devreim, the Aninus of Yom HaKivura, which is merely D'Rabbanan, even more than the Torah did regarding its Yom Aninus, i.e. the Yom HaMisa. Meaning, although when it comes to the Aninus Minat Torah, the original one of Yom HaMisa, Minat Torah only extends until the end of the day. Chacham added to that and covered the night as well, even regarding Yom HaKivura, which to begin with is only with Rabbanan. To give it a fullness, a consistency, and treat the day and the following night as one unit. The night always follows the day regarding karbanos, right? You bring a carbon today, you eat it tonight. So regarding karbanos, at least, we find that it's one and the same, whether it's Yom HaMisa or Yom HaKfur. Okay, so the bottom line is we discovered the machlokes that we were looking for, status of the night after Yom HaKfura. So regarding Yom HaMisa itself, certainly Einin HaTorah. Regarding the following night, that's a question. And regarding Yom HaKfura, which is certainly the Rabbanon, another question is whether it extended into the following night. We discussed an interesting concept called Achilas Psachim Me'akva. We had a couple of answers. And that apparent contradiction regarding Reb Shimon's allowing or disallowing an Einin to bring a Korban Pesach. All the best to you and Atzlacha.